Hey everyone, it's Monday and time for another Monday Mastery live at 5. I'm dating coach and relationship coach Rick Sodebeer, and I'm here to change the culture of dating and how we date and the culture of the relationships that we get into. So, it's been a busy few days, let's put it that way. Uh, I had plans for a particular type of or a particular conversation today, and I think that's kind of gone by the wayside. I know I wanted to talk about dating and staying focused and doing the things that you need to do. Find good places to look, and just staying proactive in dating. But I think like the rest of my day has gone, it's one of the things that happens. At least it does to me. I don't know about anybody else. You have the day set up and planned out and everything that you need to get done or want to get done for the day, and then slowly but surely your day comes unraveled, and that's kind of what's happened to me today. Hey Sylvia, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. For those of you that are here, join in and tell us where you're from. One of the things that kind of threw me off to begin with today was I had to drive to about 45 minutes from here, and where I normally I had to drive to Ironwood, where I normally broadcast from on Monday Mastery. But when I got to Ironwood, I realized I didn't have my computer. So, hey Trisha, thanks for joining in. And Sylvia says that's what happened to me the past couple of weeks. It's crazy. It can be. And so the gist of what's happened today is everything that I planned has kind of fallen apart. I only was able to accomplish one thing that I had on my list, and it's a little bit frustrating. But in that, there are some life lessons here for not only for everyday relationships, but for or for everyday life, but for dating and for relationships. And the one of the things that I did today was I climbed a ladder about 30 feet, and I'm okay with a step ladder, but climbing a ladder 30 feet to get onto the roof of one of my buildings, that is out of my wheelhouse. And one of the things that I discovered today is I can do it. I overcame that fear of climbing that ladder and getting onto the roof. Hey Bernard, thanks for joining in from Douglas, Georgia. Thank you. Glad you're here. So that's and the point of that is there are so many things in life that we tend to be afraid of, or that give us fear. They're not they just give us fear, and we don't know how to overcome it. We don't try to overcome it because that fear can paralyze us. But I had a project on the roof of my building today, and if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done, because to hire somebody to do this simple project was cost prohibitive. So I just finally manned up and said, I got to do this. And so the same thing happens when we're dating and when we're in a relationship. Hey Addie, thanks for joining in. We have to do things. If we want to be successful in dating, we have to do things. We have to step outside of our comfort zone. And sometimes that comfort zone is striking up a conversation with somebody. Sometimes that that comfort zone is sometimes the things that are outside our comfort zone are asking someone out, and whether you're a man or a woman, there are times that you need to make the decision to ask someone out. And what you'll find, and just like I found with climbing the ladder today, is it was still uncomfortable. But once I got up on the roof, I was fine. But it was that 30 steps up that gave me great concern. And a friend of mine I'd made comment that I had done a project on a ladder a couple of weeks ago, and it was a much shorter ladder. It was only about 15 feet. And I was telling my friend that, I was overcoming that fear, and he says, you know what you need to do? He says, you need to do those things more often. And he's right. And as you do these things, as you step outside your comfort zone, get outside you expand your envelope, so to speak, you start to become more comfortable. It may not become second nature to you. But what will happen is that you'll become more comfortable. And, a perfect example is striking up a conversation with someone. We so many times are afraid to approach somebody, even just to say hi, for fear that they're going to reject us or not be interested. But one of the things that we have to do in the dating world is become comfortable enough to be able to strike up a conversation with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And it doesn't have to be to ask somebody out. It doesn't have to be and I suggest, if you're uncomfortable doing that, start doing that in the grocery store. Just go to a grocery store you're not familiar with, and if you see somebody that's if you see somebody that's attractive to you, just walk up and say, "Hey, I'm new in this store. I've never shopped here before. Can you tell me where this item is going to be?" And odds are they're going to say, "Yeah, it's over here." And you might just walk on your way. But if you might run into a situation and they'll say, "No, I'm new here too. So let's help each other find each other's stuff on the list." Bernard says, let me get this up on the screen. Bernard says it's going down. That's hard. That's hard for me. Not quite sure. Not quite sure how to read that, Bernard. Maybe you can clarify that for me. But it's doing this sometime. Going down the ladder. Gotcha. That's and you're right, Bernard. That was going up. I was reasonably okay, but it was getting back on that ladder and going and coming back down. I had that same concern. But once I was about a third of the way down, I was fine. The ladder was stable, everything was fine. But these are the things that translate into overcoming our fears. When you recognize that you can do something that you've never done before. I've never climbed up on the roof of that building. I know I can do it now. It's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be easy, but I can do it. I've done it once. I can do it again. So, and the same thing happens when we're talking about dating, when we're talking about meeting somebody new. We just have to exert some effort that we've never exerted before. There's always going to be a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of maybe frustration, but it's all part of the learning and the growing process. It's stepping outside your comfort zone, and so part of this whole process of life is learning how to do some things you're uncomfortable with. And I know it wasn't that long ago that I would have difficulty just walking up to somebody and starting a conversation. But now I can be lighthearted and start joking around with somebody in the Starbucks line, or in the line at the grocery store, or wherever it might be. And sometimes you're just going to get looks like, "Oh, really?" And other times you're going to strike up a conversation, and you never know where that conversation will lead. There was one conversation I struck up with a woman in a grocery store, and we ended up going out for cocktails. It's nothing came of that of that of that of that getting together, but it was a nice evening. We both spent a little time with somebody we didn't know. We got to know each other a little bit, had a couple of cocktails, and we moved on. Hey, Gina, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. Where was I going? There are so many aspects of dating and relationships that all cause us to have to step outside of our comfort zone. And let's see what Addie has to say here. Addie says, I wait tables part-time. There was a guy that would come in by himself once a week. I found him attractive too. We had banter back and forth all the time. I finally had to just bite the bullet and ask him out. He turned me down, which was disappointing, but explained that he was in a long-distance relationship already. I just felt so much better once I had asked him, and then I knew and could move on. Awesome, Addie. That's, while none of us likes to get get to be turned down, but at least you actually could put closure to that and stop wondering if he was interested, or if he was available even. Addie says, I was nervous to ask, but I had to. And that brings up an interesting and a very good point, Addie. I think one of the things that's important for all of us to understand, guys, we have to ask. And ladies, you have to ask. If you don't, the answer is always going to be no. If you meet somebody, you have to ask. You have to ask for coffee or cocktails, and it's nerve-wracking. It's just like Addie said, but she felt so much better when she was done, or when she had asked. There was closure. There was no more wondering, and so you just have to put yourself out there, and it's never comfortable the first time. But Addie, I'll bet the next time that happens. Man, let me get Addie's comment here. She said, I just figured that what's the worst that can happen? He tells me no, and no biggie. Absolutely right. That's the worst that can happen, is they're going to say no. And, I so wish I had the courage and the conviction that I do now when I was 18, 20, 25 years old. It would make life a lot easier, but we all grow. We all learn. So, but that's Addie's comments are just absolutely dead on, spot on. And so, the other, and now I'm going to veer into some of the what I originally intended to talk about is, and this kind of leads into, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And several people, and I've had several comments recently in the last few weeks about people that said, well, I give up. And when you give up, there's the chances of you finding your soulmate go down exponentially, let's say. I posted a meme on Facebook. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, you probably saw it this morning. But if one of the things that I've focused on for the last several years is keep searching for your soulmate. They're out there. But one of the other things that was pointed out to me not too long ago was that, well, guess what? Your soulmate is searching for you too. So when you quit, when you quit looking, it just makes it that much harder for your soulmate to find you. In fact, it may even make it impossible for your soulmate to find you, because odds are they're not going to be the UPS man or the mailman or somebody that's knocking on your door, unless it's maybe Domino's, the Domino's pizza delivery. So you have to be you have to be out there. You have to just do the things that sometimes they're uncomfortable. And quitting while it is an option, it's rarely a good option. Taking a vacation from dating, do that. And regroup, reorganize your thoughts, and and adjust where you're looking. One of the things that one of the questions that comes up on a regular basis is, Rick, where do I look? Where do I find my soulmate? And there's no magic answer to this. It has to do with what you're looking for in a relationship. If you want somebody that enjoys camping and outdoor activities, you need to be in those places. You need to be doing some camping and in not extremely remote areas, because you don't your odds of finding somebody out in a remote area are not good. But go to a campground if you enjoy camping, even if it's just tent camping. I'm in a campground here, as you can see, as I didn't point out, but I'm broadcasting from my camper tonight. And this is where I'll be broadcasting from most of the winter. I might be broadcasting outside when the weather's nice, but it's where I am, and there are regularly people around me that I get to meet. And so you have to look at what are the things that you like, what are the things that where, ladies, I get this question a lot from you all also. What do you like to do? Or do you share any sports interests? Golfing, tennis, shooting. There are plenty of. Oops, sorry, I've got just had to turn my phone off here. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Look, I think outside the box, guys. If you want to meet a woman, consider taking a cooking class, because there's generally a lot of women taking cooking classes. Think outside the box. And so many of you tell me, online dating is just the worst. Well, when you look at it as your only resource, yes, it can be terrible. But it's a spot where only about 30% of relationships start. So that means 70% of relationships start elsewhere. So it's there are places, at work, at church, be social, get out and be social. I was having a conversation with a woman just a couple of days ago, and she was talking about, I hate to go to the bars, and bars have such a terrible reputation, and I think unjustly so, is there are a lot of great bars or pubs where you can go and listen to music. You don't have to go there and sit at the bar and get drunk and get, and try to pick up guys. No. There are great places that you can go, have a cocktail, listen to a good band or listen to some good music. Maybe it's a DJ. You don't have to have 12 girlfriends to go. Sometimes, ladies, you have to step out of your comfort zone and just go. You're going to be asked to dance if there's good music. If a guy comes up and starts talking to you, don't necessarily shoo him away unless he's obviously drunk out of his mind. Then you shoo him away and you move on and continue to enjoy the evening. But it's you when you start limiting your venues, so to speak, whether it's online dating or going out and listening to music, by yourself, there are any number of things. Oh, sorry about that. Hang on. We're getting a tornado alert. So, I'm just going to turn that off for the time being. And okay, I'm back. I'm sorry if I lost you guys. Um, that was my fault. That was a technical issue on my part. I had my phone hooked up as my internet connection. When I shut it off, I lost my connection. So I just hooked up to the local park connection, and we'll run from there. But anyway, that was interesting. That's going to be part of the technology issues that we'll deal with here on the road for the coming several months. Yeah, Gina, let me know if I'm back. I see your comment there, and I should be back on. And let me know in the comment section if you guys have me back. So, but I know I've got internet connection again, and it was just just operator error on my part to keep this show going. So anyway. But don't limit yourself to possibilities because you're initially uncomfortable with something. Good. Glad to see you. Glad you got the connection back, Gina. So we should be good. Don't limit yourself to the possibilities because you don't like something or you're uncomfortable with something. It's Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. There are so many places, so many opportunities. Hey, Deborah, thanks for joining in. Deborah's tuning in from Lee's Summit. So again, so many of the complaints I get are about online dating or going out to bars, but there are so many other places. There are so many places to look. So many, museums, social, charity events, social functions, meetup groups. There's any number of ways, any number of places that you can go to make connections with people. And when if you join a meetup group or other social group, don't do it because you're looking for a date or for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Do it because you have a genuine interest. And then if you meet somebody, awesome. But you have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in a position of being found, and that's also important to recognize or to understand, is that your friends need to know that you're looking. The people that you associate need to know that you have an interest in dating if the right one comes along. Don't hold yourself back. And by saying, no, I'm not looking, I'm not interested. I mean, if you truly want to, if you truly want to be with your soulmate, but it takes persistence, and that's one of the things that I've learned is that I've been divorced for over 11 years. Hey Lindsay, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. We need to get together and have a cocktail, buddy. It's one of those things that you need to step out. Again, you just need to step out of your comfort zone. Try something that you don't. I'm sorry, we've got. It's coming across again, and I had to turn my phone back on to get some internet service. It's going to be one of those nights. It's, so, again, step out of your comfort zone. Do things that you haven't done before. At least try it. If you fail at it, that's okay. If it didn't work for you, use it as a learning experience, not as a humiliation or an ego crusher or whatever you want to call it. Just recognize that whatever you did may not have worked. Does it work for other people? Absolutely. You might adjust what you're doing and try it a different way. Using online dating as an example. Just because you haven't found the right core group of people that you're interested in dating doesn't mean that he's not out there or she's not out there. Like I started to say before the alarm went off or the tornado warning went off. I've been divorced for 11 and a half years now. And when I first got divorced, I thought, man, 9 months, I'm going to be with my soulmate and I'm going to live happily ever after. It hasn't quite worked out that way. And a lot of times we're going to be, run into roadblocks or hurdles that keep us from that slow us down. And one of the things that I've discovered is when I first came out of my divorce, I'd been separated 3 years, and I was ready. I was ready to go. And several years later, 2-3 years later, I found out, wow, I had a lot to learn. I had a lot I had some maturing to do. I had some deep life lessons to learn. And, we all go through this process. And hey, Geneva, thanks for being here. She says, I didn't join to find someone. I just wanted to get back out there and start hanging out and meeting new people. Awesome. That's exactly what you need to be doing. And that's exactly what I was saying. Take Geneva's lead there and join groups just to get back out and be social. And that's when things start to happen. You take away the neediness, so to speak. I've got to be in a relationship. 3 or 4 weeks ago I talked about the widower who just was jumping back into the dating world, and his wife had only been gone for 5 or 6 months, and he was just jumping in so quickly. He was trying to fill a vacancy or a void in his life without without taking time to heal. We all need to take that time to heal. For those of you that may just be recently widowed or divorced, take time. Be patient. It doesn't have to happen today. If you walk into the dating world thinking it's got to happen now, then you're going to end up in bad relationships, one bad relationship after another, because you're going to be making bad choices, bad decisions based on your neediness, and you become a dating pariah. The opposite sex isn't going to want anything to do with you because you're so needy, you're so clingy, and they may not fully understand why you are this way, but that's what's happening is you're actually pushing people away. Your neediness is driving good candidates or good people away from you, and you're eventually going to end up saying, well, there's no good ones left, there's no good men left, there's no good women left. There's plenty of good men and women out there, but there are people that have taken they're people that have taken the time to learn, to grow, to heal, to understand what it is that's important to them, what they're looking for. And when you're out there dating and you say that, well, there's no good ones left, or they're all jerks, liars, cheaters, scammers, whatever online. And I hear that more from ladies than I do from men, but you talk to men and they're going to say the same thing. So much of it has to do with what's going on internally, not only with us but with them. And when one of the first questions that I ask when I'm getting to know somebody is, how long have you been divorced? How long have you been widowed? Have you had any, if it's been a while, have you had any serious relationships in this time? And you can learn a lot about a person when you start to ask good questions. It doesn't have to. You don't have to find out why they're divorced initially. If they've been married 4 or 5 or 6 times, then you probably want to say, hey, what's going on here? Or you may just want to, somebody like that you may want to walk away from simply for the fact that they may be emotionally immature. There may be some other issues with them that are preventing them from developing good, strong relationships, or from finding good, strong, healthy relationships. So there's so many things out there that we need to pay attention to, and again, some of the life lessons that I'm trying to share with you, you just come from experience. Going back to my ladder story, climbing that ladder was not. I postponed it today as long as I could because I did not relish that task. But once I did it, once I got down, man, I'm golden. I can do it again. And everything in life is like that. Once you've gone through it, once you've done it, once it becomes easier the next time. Now, I'm not going to say that the next time I've got to climb up on the roof that I'm just going to run up there like Roger Rabbit bounding up the ladder, but or coming down. I'm not going to climb up there like a fireman, with the confidence that they've got. But I'm going to be able to climb up and climb down confidently. Geneva says, I didn't join to find someone. I just wanted to. Oh, nope. How did we? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, for whatever reason, Geneva, I missed an earlier comment. She said recently I joined a meetup group and had a couple of outings. Saturday I participated in a moonlight kayaking trip. There was over 50 people there. It was amazing. That had to be awesome. I've never heard of moonlight kayaking. Hope it was on a smaller body of water, and I don't know what all is involved, but that sounds pretty cool, especially with the. I think last night we had a full moon. That had to be awesome. But see, take Geneva for example. That's an awesome way. She didn't join the group, but she went out and did. She had an awesome experience. And she did something I've never even heard of. And I think that is so cool. But there are experiences like that out there. You have to get out and participate in life. When you actually participate in life, you're going to come across some really neat things. You're going to come across some really neat people. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the right one for you, but they're out there. And you can't find them by sitting at home and by not doing the things you really want to do. And again, ladies, if you like to listen to music, don't be afraid of going out. I wouldn't suggest going someplace that's really seedy. But if it's a decent place, don't hesitate to go out and enjoy yourself. Have a cocktail. Enjoy the music. If you get asked to dance, awesome. Or better yet, if you see a guy standing around, go ask him to dance. Just don't be afraid. Maybe he can't dance. Maybe he's got two left feet. But if he steps out on the dance floor, you're going to make his night. So, and guys, don't be afraid of asking. Don't be afraid of asking the ladies out. Don't be afraid to ask the ladies onto the dance floor. I know I have a little bit of a problem, especially when I know there's several ladies that really know how to dance. I get intimidated by that, but unless you go out and do it, you'll never get any better. So gosh, this I can go down so many roads here. And guys, we have to be able to ask ladies out. Society has changed so much in the last few years, and with all due respect to the guys out here, we've gotten lazy. We've been drilled for years that women can do it all, and women can how does the commercial go? You can take home the bacon and then fry it up in a pan, and however that old commercial goes. Yes, ladies, you can do it all, but ladies, I know from so many of you that I've talked to, you still like us to ask you out. So guys, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be lazy. It's we get intimidated by somebody that has some good looks, or somebody that we're attracted to, and the next thing you know, you find her with somebody else, and you missed out. Don't miss those opportunities. The answer is always going to be no if you don't ask, and I know I've said that several times tonight, but it's true. You have to be able to step out of your comfort zone from time to time. And I'm not saying do it every day, every night, but from time to time. It's when I was a teenager, the worst thing to do, was to ask a girl out. That was, to me, that was the hardest thing to do. Lindsay, we're about the same age. We're a couple of years different. Let's see, who else did we have on here? Bernard, and if there's any guys out there, check in. Would love to know that there's more than just a couple of us here. But we had to call on Wednesday for a date on Saturday, and we didn't have texting, we didn't have cell phones. If you were really fortunate, you had a phone that had a really long cord, and you could go hide in a closet or something. I had a phone that was attached to the wall that had about a 3 foot cord to it. You know, if you stretched it out, you could stretch it out to about 5 feet. But everybody's in the phone was in the kitchen. Everybody's sitting in the living room, and they can hear everything you're saying. So, so not only was it hard to ask the girl out, you had to have your family listen to everything you said. So so for those of us that are beyond that 60 age range, we had some difficulties, some tough times trying to ask the girl out, or you had to ask her out in person. You had to go knock on her door, and then you had to see her parents or talk to her sisters or brothers, and it was like, oh God, can we just go somewhere and where I can ask you out? But nope, that's not the way it was done back then. Today, it's become so much easier. In so many respects, I know so many of you say, "Oh, dating is so hard, it's so difficult." I give up. There's, and like I told somebody today, nothing worthwhile is easy, and finding your soulmate is one of those things that is not going to be easy. Hey, thanks, Bernard. Bernard checked in, and he's 60 years old. Yep, you're in the same ballpark, my friend. And so it's all of these things. We just have to. At 60 years old, you think it wouldn't be that tough, but for whatever reason, we look at these things like they're life and death, and they really aren't. Have the conversation. Ask her out. Ask him out. If you have an interest, you'll never know if you don't. And maybe that one will be your soulmate. But you'll never know if you don't ask. And just because you have a date doesn't mean she's going to be the right one, or doesn't mean he's going to be the right one. You have to have a lot of dates to find your soulmate. But you can't find, if you're sitting at home, or if you're not doing these things, you're not going out, you're not being social. And ladies, I just had a thought that I want to come back to for those of you that tell me, oh, I would never go to a bar alone, I would never do these things alone. You have to understand that when you're in a group, even just two of you, it becomes very intimidating for a guy to come and ask you to dance. It becomes very intimidating for a guy to ask to ask you out. Because it not only is he asking you out, he's got to ask you out in front of your friends. And it's kind of like I just said, in the old days when we were talking on the phone, you had no privacy. Now you can text and nobody knows what you're texting. Nobody knows. You can step outside with your cell phone. You can take a walk around the block and nobody knows who you're talking to or what you're talking about. So there's a lot of difference between now and then. Yes, dating has changed over the years. But there are tools that we have today that we didn't 20, 30, 40 years ago. Utilize those tools. Become proficient in them. Here's a good question. Bernard says, what about age difference? Younger than my daughter. Well, it's all Bernard, that's all a matter of preference. Now, if it's going to be just a couple of dates, that's fine. But if you're looking for a serious relationship, those relationships really really tend to fall apart in the later years. It's all fun and games while you're enjoying each other's company now. But there are going to be a lot of hurdles or a lot of roadblocks that come to play if you're looking for a serious relationship. I mean, if you're just looking to go out and go out dancing, or have a couple of drinks with somebody, fine. But a couple of things that immediately come to mind is you have no common history, meaning you didn't live through the same parts of history, or she's not going to have any common, or not going to have much common history with you. If you're 60 and she's 30, you've been around for 30 years before she was born, so you've lived through all of that history. Even looking at 9/11, she was only 10 years old when 9/11 happened. You were 40 years old, and those types of things have a much greater impact when you're trying to have a conversation or find some commonality. I mean, you might find some commonality in music. You might enjoy younger music, or she might enjoy older music. But here's one of the things that I found and I've talked to several people that are in what are they, that there's more than 20 years difference, and they all pretty much say the same thing. The younger partner continues to have energy where, Bernard, let's say she's 30 and obviously you're 60. In 20 years, you're going to be 80. Your energy level is going to be significantly lower than hers at her age 50 at the time. So, and I'm just using, I'm just using age. I'm just throwing out those ages. I don't know what the age difference is, Bernard, but I'm just giving you an example. A friend of mine's mother married somebody 10 years younger, and she ended up having health issues, and he had no interest in taking care of her, and he was 10 years younger. My dad married somebody that was 15 years younger, and that marriage, for all intents and purposes, fell apart. Hey, Teresa, how you doing? I'm glad to see you're here. Addie says, I agree with Rick when it comes to a large age gap. Thank you. And so, Bernard, that's from Addie. That was unsolicited. I think what you'll find is when you're looking at age difference, I generally try to use 5 over and 5 under as a guideline. Now you can go, a couple 7 plus or minus, but the whole idea, Bernard, is to take as many of the roadblocks out of the way as possible. And when you have such a huge, and I'm talking 15, 20, 30 years difference, that becomes a pretty big roadblock. And again, today it may be all fun and games, but in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there's going to be a huge difference. And you really have to have a serious conversation about the younger person being a caregiver. Now, that doesn't mean that the younger person can't come down with something, can't be afflicted with something that you need to become a caregiver. But the odds are, the older we get, the more likely it is that we're going to need the care, and so most people don't sign on for that, and that's a real serious conversation. Oh, sorry about that. We got a tornado warning until about 6:15, so we got about another 25 minutes. So I apologize about that, but that's part of being live. So anyway, so there's. I hope I answered your question there. Again, it's all fun and games to begin with. Another thing that just popped into my head is that if this is somebody that you get serious with, you have to have a good, serious conversation with your kids. And if it's just your daughter, you've got to have a serious conversation with her, and you know, she's she has to, for lack of better terms, she has to sign off on this too, because that can throw a real wrench into your family dynamics. When the kids get upset about dad being with somebody that's younger than they are, they're younger than the kids. So there are some really big dynamics that you need to think about, and that most people don't. We dive into a relationship, we have some good chemistry. Usually, when the age difference is that big, it's usually physical chemistry. But you have to be able to, Bernard, be able to develop an intellectual, a spiritual, an emotional, in addition to the physical connection. So there's a lot of moving parts in relationships, and again, if you're just dating her for forgive my language, shits and giggles, that's fine. But then make sure that she's on the same page and not looking for a baby daddy, or is she wanting to develop a family, or is she beyond the age of family? And if she has kids, do you want to raise her kids? You've already raised a family. These are all things you need to think about. Addie says, curious, where are you, Rick? Well, Addie, I am in Washburn, Wisconsin. I'm about 30 miles from the northernmost point of Wisconsin. I'm actually sitting on if you could see out my window here, you'd see one of the bays in Lake Superior, Chequamegon Bay. Hey Jerry, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. Bernard, I hope I've answered that question for you. If you have other questions, just feel free to shoot me a note. Yeah, Addie. Yeah, we're having some. It was about 85 degrees here today, and we've got some rain just starting to move in, and tomorrow we've got a cold front coming in, and tomorrow I think the high is going to be mid 60s. So I think in looking at the forecast, we've seen our last of the good summer days, and it's fall up here. The trees are really starting to turn, and you watch with this. And next week and maybe throughout the week I'll try to share some pictures of the colors that are starting to pop out up here, and it's fall, and tornadoes up here are very, very rare, but apparently there's some activity coming, and as soon as we're done here, I'll check the radar, and if I need to find shelter, there's a couple of places that I can find shelter, so it's all good. So anyway, we're at about almost an hour here. If you guys have any more questions, fire them off real quick, and we'll get those answered. Bernard, let me know if I answered, if I may not have answered your question the way you wanted, but I answered it honestly, and it's I hope I've given you some food for thought, and will at least get you to think a little more seriously. There's a lot of young ladies that I would have said, yeah, but then you look at the age difference, and it's just to me, I don't find a lot in common with a large age difference. But that's me, Bernard. That may not be you, and the rest of you. You all have to sort through this on your own. What are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? And in sorting out your preferences. But I just find from a practical standpoint that 5 to 7 either way is a pretty good range. And it's where you'll find the most in common. You'll find common history, common likes. You can develop an intellectual, a spiritual, an emotional connection. We all want the physical connection, somebody we're attracted to, and we all want great sex, but hopefully you're holding off on sex until marriage. Statistically, you're not, because only about 5% of you will wait. The other 95%, well, 80% of you will be in bed with your partner on or before the 8th date. So that's the odds of making it to marriage, unless you're going to get married before your 8th date, are pretty slim. So anyway, I hope this has been informative for you. And if you have any questions, shoot them to me. And otherwise, I will see you all next week. Bernard, let's see. Bernard says, we're in Tornado Alley here in Georgia. Thanks. I understand. Just had a lady ask. Well, there you go. It's Bernard. It's flattering when they ask. But I at least for me, and the advice that I give, that's a pass. 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years difference. It's a pass. And ladies, you all, real quickly, you all know, especially those of you in your 50s and 60s, you'll get 20 and 30 somethings hitting on you on dating sites, and it's like, oh, come on, you're younger than my son. So anyway, Addie, thank you. I will, and we'll see you all next week. I hope you have a great and blessed week, everyone. And it's starting to rain pretty hard here, so but I'll be back next week, and who knows? I may be in the trailer again. We had pretty good results, other than the signals going off, or sirens going off. So anyway, have a great and blessed week, everyone. I love you guys, and see you next week.